I'm Jasenia Cholula, and my position in HistiCom is a researcher. And I'm dedicated to working in HistiCom because I like the idea of making comic books. History was never a strong subject for me in school, so I like the idea of making history into comic books because I thought it will be a better way to teaching history to future generations.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Marino, and my position in HistiCom is that I'm a researcher, and I'm dedicated to working on this project because I think we're not only helping American kids, but Korean kids, because they teach different history in different ways in other countries, and they struggle a lot. And comics are just, everybody knows about them, and they know how to read them. So if you teach them something that they're familiar with, they will learn it faster and easier for them.
My name is Emily Bonilla. I'm one of the artists in the group for the Peloponnesian War comic, and I'm new to this group, so I don't really have a dedication.
My name is Idalis Brialis. My position in HistiCom is that I'm a writer, and I'm dedicated to this because growing up in middle school and currently in high school, I struggled with history a lot. I could never connect to it without it having visuals or having it be in like a narrative form. And I want to change that for our future generations so that they can understand better and they can get more good grades and they can be our future leaders.
I'm Ixia Colazo. I'm one of the two CEOs. The other was not able to be here because she attends a different school. My basic responsibilities are the business management piece, and I am also the writing supervisor. My reason for being dedicated to this project is because as a writer and a fan of comics, I've always found history to be extremely interesting, but misunderstood why others don't have appreciation for it. And now that I do understand it, my goal is to make things easier for them to understand.
With our comics, we plan to get kids more engaged with the history, since the drawings and kids are into comics and stuff.
The purpose of HistiCom is because we noticed that many students struggle with understanding historical events, either because they're not interested in the subject material or because they're bored with the way they're being taught. So our goal is to create comic books using the historical events as a supplementary material for the teachers to use in their lessons.
Our current audience is the 6th grade class of 2012 to 2013 at Lincoln Leadership Academy, which will be studying world history. The students are going to be our first test group for the comics we're creating. And in the future, we plan for our audience to be students from 6th through 12th all over America.
Our group is split into several different portions. We have Team A and Team B. Team A is made up of one researcher, an artist, and a writer, as is Team B. We do this in order to have 2 comics going at the same time to increase productivity. As you can see in Team A, the one artist who is the art supervisor, the other CEO, is not here. But she is one reason that we started this. She has an IEP in learning. So in order for her to understand, a lot of the time we had to teach her through having her draw comics. And that's how we came up with the idea for the project.
Each comic book is broken down into 4 sections. The first section introduces the significant people of the event so that the reader can be given an understanding of roles specific characters play. And the second section begins the actual comic by narrating events and issues from the subject matter.
Well, Team A, which is our team, is currently working on creating the prototype of our comic on the Mexican Independence War, which was fought in order to end ties with Spain and bring equality to all people. It was started by the issue with the caste system, hierarchy, and no free trade. And along with the examples created other revolutions occurring during that time period.
As I said earlier, the first section.
And these are some of our character sketches for the Mexican Independence War for the comic book.
And as I said earlier, the first section includes
Our team is representing creating a prototype comic for the Peloponnesian War. Ancient Greece in 431 BC was not a united country, but a large puzzle of rival cities located in Greece. Most of the city-states were allies with one of the two powerful governments, the Athens and Sparta. Because Athens was the most powerful of the two, Sparta initiated a war to gain overall power.
As I'm trying to say, the first section introduces the significant people, and the second section is the issue of these subjects. But in the third section, we dig deeper into the story of the event and establishing a clear and detailed understanding of the situation that occurred. And the last section, which is the fourth one, is narrating everything into a story form so the student can understand what happened and also see what caused it and what solved it.
Okay, we have several stages in our plans in order to produce each comic. The first stage is the prototype creation. In this stage, we have the researchers do obviously all the research, and the writers create the outline for the artist to draw. The second stage is our first test run. In this test run, we will have the sixth graders at Lincoln Leadership Academy. They're going to be taught the lesson the way they normally would learn it from their teacher. They're going to be tested, and without being taught anything else, they're going to be given the comic book and then retested after reading the comic book to see how it adjusted with their scores. We're then going to interview them on videotape, the teachers and the students, to figure out any ideas, suggestions, or changes we need to make. After we make our adjustments, we're going to retest it at another school. We haven't determined which school yet, but one that uses a similar curriculum, and again, interview the kids for adjustments. And after making our final adjustments, we're going to go into publishing and selling the books.
The website we're currently constructing is going to be one of our ways to sell the comic books. It'll also have information on the group and the company, and you could put your insights on it and your thoughts and comments about our comic books.
Our legal management is that we're planning to meet with an attorney that's gonna help us keep control and fully understand the legal aspects that it takes to run a company like this. And we're also looking for sponsors. We are planning to apply for the grant through the TeenWorks program, as well as reach out for other sponsors that will help us for our company.
We want to eventually create and sell various historical comics that effectively benefit the learning of students. We also plan to expand our sales and products used from Lincoln to our community, and from the community to the entire Lehigh County. The plan to expand until schools throughout our entire country. We are using our comics to build understanding of students.
And that is our project. Any questions?
When you're going, oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
When you're going to field test your comics, how would that field test be related to your overall problem-solving strategy? Are you going to really measure the effectiveness of your product, comics, in relation to what the students will actually get as a score, or are you going to focus more on how useful it was for the student to comprehend the theme or the topic? How are you going to look at those two pieces? Are you going to just measure with scores? Are you going to measure looking at the quality of your product in relation of your customers, the students. Are they going to like it? How do they like it? How are you going to look at those two pieces?
Well, the first part is basically to see how effective it was. And the second part, which is why we're doing the interviews, is to understand how it helped them. And we're using the scores to show the effectivity of it.
Will you be doing any interviews? I think it's a great idea, by the way. Will you be doing any interviews as you're developing it to kind of get ahead rather than perhaps maybe, I think the interviews at that time, what you're talking about is great, but to kind of get an understanding of what the sixth graders might like early, would you be doing any interviews early?
We actually didn't think about that, but I think we should.
Have you done, or maybe you're going to do, any research on whether similar type ideas have been tried throughout the country? Are there other competitors, so to speak?
We have done our research, and the few competitors that we do have are very different from what we're trying to do. What they do is a lot of the books will have the normal text that textbooks would be used, and then they'll have a small portion of a comic book trying to relate it. What we're trying to do is take the entire book and put it in the contents of the comic book so that it's for better understanding.
Okay. Good.
Question. I really think this is a promising idea. So congratulations on your work. And I think your plan is very well thought through and well identified. So it's very easy to follow. A lot of push right now in our country is with the core curriculum, the national standards that are coming out. And I'm wondering if you've thought about, or if you have any ideas how you can connect your work. Sometimes it's helpful when we couch our work in something else, get in the momentum of something else that's going. How you can tie it in with the national standards for social studies and what they're expecting children to learn in each grade level. Or maybe is there any idea, thought of partnership with textbook providers so that you're in alignment with them, so your textbooks for sixth grade, you also have an understanding of what textbooks are being created for sixth graders. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So publishers and these national standards.
For the national standards, we haven't gotten the chance to look at that. Someone recently suggested that about a day or two ago. So we're looking into that now. And for the textbooks, we considered working with one of the publishers and proposing our idea, but then we decided that we want to do it separately. When we have the money and the means, we want to buy the textbooks that are most often used so that we can make them fit with all the textbooks so that they're universal. Seeing as not all schools use the same exact textbook.
That's interesting. The other thing that comes to mind when you were saying that was perhaps, I don't know if you've considered almost a customization for the instructor. With your ideas there of being independent, you might have the ability to customize that based on what the instructor wants to strengthen on the curriculum.
We considered that, and we put that. Another reason we used the website was not only for orders but also for suggestions and requests for events we haven't created already, but so that teachers could put in what they needed strengthened so that we could focus mostly on that as well as the big picture of the event.
I agree with my colleagues here. This is a very, very interesting project that you are actually using your own experiences as the springboard to get to a better comprehension of history, which is, as we know, very important because we need to understand our past in order to create a better future. So one of the things that I think would be something to look into is, again, what rationale or why did you pick these topics or these areas of history? And piggyback with what you said about customizing and about aligning it with core standards, it will be interesting if you can actually also interview some of the social studies teachers. So you have like a rationale why, these topics have been selected because some teacher said that blah, blah, blah. And that helps you to really somehow enhance your opportunities to create a product that is based on experiences or requests from these teachers. That is one piece that maybe, you would like to enhance your project by saying, some interviews where teachers said that this is important because. And the other piece is also, maybe as you are solving your problem here of engaging students into learning more about history, I think that maybe, as you know, you also like to look at everything, using your cell phone and not just opening a book. So provide that also as an online kind of product that teachers could actually use in their classrooms. Something that is a supplemental material. Like what you described was like, okay, the teachers are using the textbook, but then they can supplement with this comic representation of that text. And I think it's a wonderful idea. And if you also pair it with a couple of interesting questions at the end of your comics, so children can discuss and work in teams to solve these issues in that historical moment. So you're extended in your activity, to give children a chance to think. Because we want children not just to read and memorize facts, but we want them also to think, problem solve, like what you're doing now, trying to think about creatively and how you can solve the problem.
I don't know if this is possible, but you might want to think about it, maybe you already have it. It would be nice in the test phase to have a control group. Is it possible to divide the class in half and do the same thing normally is done for that half and the comic program for this half of students? Probably isn't possible numbers-wise or class schedule-wise, but it would be an interesting test. How much did these students learn who used your comics versus these students who went through the regular curriculum, so to speak?
At our school, we actually do have enough people to do that, and we were planning on splitting it, not by putting the class in half, but by putting the entire 6th grade in half on who gets tested and who doesn't.
Okay, so you will be able to have some kind of control group there that you can measure your new program against. Good idea. You really have a good handle on what you're doing. Very impressed.
Just comments. And I think it's a good sign that there's so many comments because it's highly engaging. We want to see it as successful as possible. Just piggybacking on anything that you can do to help children think deeply about the material would be very helpful. I just heard recently about the SAT. And they were talking in high school and they said, the SAT, which is so important as far as its gateway into higher education, but it doesn't test you on historical facts, but it does test you on how you think and how you write and how you evaluate. It doesn't say when did Columbus, but it talks about the issues. So the more that you can use the facts and the basic comprehension to open the door to discuss the larger issues of social studies. So much of our social studies instruction is so flat and shallow. So you grab them with the comic book and then encourage them to think deeper. I think that's very helpful. And the other thing is probably spending some time thinking about what your point of view will be as you tell the historical story, or what's your goal For example, some people might say, I want to tell history, but I want to make sure all people are represented in the story, not just the heroes, but multiple sides of the story. So I think you could just think about that, see, as you're telling the story, what's important for you in explaining this history? What's important? Because again, sometimes history has been challenged or accused of just being so one-sided or one interpretation, but it might be helpful for you to think about multiple thoughts or multiple perspectives in your account. If you could market it that way, I think that would be a very helpful tool for teachers who struggle, because much of the history is one side. Is that right?
I have another suggestion. Just, I'm a great believer in people will learn better and remember particular things better if they have fun while they're going through the learning process, which is what attracts me about the comic book kind of thing. But as much fun as you can introduce into the, whether it's humor in your write-ups or your drawings or plays or acting out, whatever, as much fun as you can introduce into the comic book program, I suggest you take a look at that. You might want to look at, for instance, the merit badge programs of Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. Those programs teach kids an awful lot, and the kids don't even know they're learning anything because they're having so much fun while they're doing it. And you might just want to take a look at their programs, their curriculum for getting a merit badge in this, or a merit badge in history, for instance. What do they say about that? So it's just a suggestion. Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.